What is your main goal? Is it take your company IPO? Is it, sell it off to a private equity company? And then from there, you start to dial back saying, okay, what type of steps we need to accomplish to reach that ultimate goal? Have you have a nice little Vision jet, and you guys travel the world in a little Vision jet.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, most definitely. Wow, cash flowing
it's
RVs.
Cash flowing, yeah.
You think you guys are going to get another one? It's going to be better for your longevity of your health, so you can optimize and be a phenomenal husband you are, a phenomenal father, and then operate the companies that you do.
Absolutely, man. I mean, there again, we started this, I think, offline.
Yeah.
Just saying there's no silver bullet.
Correct.
Sure, you can take some shortcuts, and sure, you can do some things that probably compromise, but we don't know what those are going to do on the back end of your life.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show. Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno. I have Nick on the show. He's going to give us a wealth of knowledge. Nick, I've known you for what? How long?
I feel like a decade, man, but I don't know.
I know. It's been quite a while.
I can't pinpoint it.
We've been following each other on social media for a while, and then really connected when my son was born through some mutual avenues. And then, we've just always been, social media, I'd say pen pals. So we chat here back and forth. How's the family doing? Things like that.
Yep.
But it's nice to, finally, get in person with you, chat, especially on here about your background and what you're doing. And I think you're really going to touch on a lot which everyone can resonate with on health, being a high-valued father, a high-valued husband, and then also running very large businesses at a very high value. So I'm excited for this.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me here.
Most definitely. Let's just dive straight into it. Tell everyone a little bit about your background, who you are, who is Nick, and then I'll dive into a bunch of questions I have for you.
Sweet, man. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity, and I mean it's been great seeing you grow. Also,
thank you. I appreciate it.
I'd love to get into it more.
It's fun.
My background. So first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I've got 4 beautiful children, and that's what actually drives a lot of what we're going to talk about today. I've spent a decade running business, and it's been all different sizes, but really in what I would consider SaaS, software world, Fintech, and taking companies public. And
Let's talk about SaaS. Some people know about SaaS and some people don't. We talked about Fintech on a couple other episodes. Talk about SaaS. What is SaaS?
So for those that don't know the term, it's software as a service. It's really any web application for software where you used to have on-premise servers. It's all in the cloud. And
all up in there.
Exactly. And so in the cloud. So basically, any software that's been built for the last, let's just call it 15 years. You had the IPO boom over the last decade as well. So I've cut my teeth in running large sales organizations, and coming into those organizations, we basically go and do takeovers of management teams that are underperforming. We try to get that company to a certain level.
Love that.
Whether it's an acquisition or IPO, and move on. And that success then, basically opened up a lot of doors and opportunity. You
Most definitely.
meet a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
Which then got me to where I am today with, real estate and my personal interests, which always have been in, working out.
Oh yeah.
Energy.
And we're gonna dive into the real estate portion, definitely eating healthy and working out. Your experience going into these companies, you're called in and you're sitting down and, okay, what is your main goal? Is it take your company IPO? Is it, sell it off to a private equity company? And then from there, you start to dial back saying, okay, what type of steps we need to accomplish to reach that ultimate goal? What have you found that's consistent amongst all those companies that are struggling when you guys come in?
There's a couple of key things that usually are missing, and the first is usually the right management team and the people. And so what we usually do is we just look at, hey, what are the pieces that you have in place? And we all hear it all the time that management and leadership drives and dictates, what's going to actually happen. And everybody thinks that they have the right people in the place because a lot of times, they bring in, you had accolades, you did it right in the past, and people get enamored by it. But ultimately, it usually starts there. And so it's the common thread is typically you don't have the right people. And so we'll start there. We'll look at who do we have to bring in and move out. The other thing, which is pretty obvious, but they don't have the right actual mission or understanding of what they're actually trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then also as companies start to build, you have a lot of different people that have differing views or points of views or understanding of even what they're actually solving for. And you'll find that a company that could be around for a decade, they've had 3 or 4 changes of leadership. And by the time we come in, everybody has a different watered down version of what's that true North Star.
Yeah.
And so it's very simplistic things that we try to do, but it starts with the people, it's process, it's tech, and we try to just blend those together. So
people are super important. I mean, we've had people come to our organization just for our culture.
Yeah.
Like they've said, look, like, and turn down large other jobs. And in the most recent, I was talking to one of our very high ups, and he was like, I turned down a CEO position because of the culture that you built at QC with everyone there. That is super important. Where back in the day, like a decade ago, no, it's grinding. It's like, okay, we're going to grind this out. I want more money, blah, blah, blah. Now with the new generation of millennials, or I don't even know what's after millennials. I don't keep up with those type of terms, but after millennials, it's now the culture, the environment. I want to make sure that is the right culture environment, you know, for a business or the place I'm working at.
It's so important, man, the culture. And I think what amplified that for a lot of people is COVID and the time that everybody had to kind of sort of pause and reflect, right?
And it's because, you know, it was everyone's go, you know, and I say this in business is like you have your blinders on, and we were just talking about it earlier. Your son's about to be 5 years old tomorrow. Congratulations on that.
Happy birthday, Slade.
I know. Love it. Love it. You know, we'll post your social media down there because your family pictures are phenomenal. You know, we were talking about it. Holy cow, 5 years old, man. And a blink of an eye and it flies by. And that's the same thing when we have these blinders on in business. It goes by so fast. And Stephanie and my rest of my team will tell you, I want things done now. I want to hurry up and get them done precise, but very quickly. And the reason why is because we're going to look back and we're going to be like, holy cow, it's been 4 years. It's been 5 years. And if we just say, hey, we're going to wait till next week, no, it doesn't work like that, because before you know it, you know, it's already passed.
In a blink of an eye, man.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, like to that point, it's like, you know, everybody we take advantage of that. We think we have all this time in the world to do things. And I say it all the time with family and, you know, just even as something as simple as a trip or vacation that you're always like putting off.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and tell you, you know, screw everything, spend all your money and go live your life right now.
Correct.
That's not the
No, you need
message.
to grind.
Yeah, you have to grind, but you also have to understand too that nothing is guaranteed or given.
No.
And so you really got to go just put things into motion and take action. And that's on everything.
You definitely have to. And, you know, I love Gary Vee, love some of the stuff he says, but I disagree with the stuff he says when it comes to, enjoy your 20s. No, don't enjoy your 20s because you got me in my 20s that will eat you up. I mean, I will eat you up, spit you out, and keep going.
Grind
like I have no remorse.
You're still in your 20s?
I know. Yeah.
Are you really?
I turned 30 next year.
Oh man,
I know. I'm holding on to those 20s. But yeah, I'm 29. Time's flying.
Yeah.
And I'm an old soul, which has been very helpful throughout my business career. No. But you know, he says enjoy your 20s, and I'm just, you know, here's some advice. If you're in your 20s, you need to grind. You need to go full force. I mean, it's super important to do that.
You know, I think there's an underlying point of the message that I take, which is explore things in your 20s, or at least, right? And don't go down, because I think the traditional sense for people is that you come out of school and you have this idea or this notion of what you're going to get into, and then, I mean, we've all probably seen it. Right? Like all my buddies, like they go into a job that they probably didn't want, but they took the job.
Not even for what their degree is, too.
Right. and now you get in, you make a little bit of money. They give you a title to give you this false sense, and then all of a sudden you're just in a path that you didn't actually want to be in, and you wake up and you're 35, and you're like,
"Where'd this go?
What happened?
Yeah.
And then you build on more debt and liabilities and things to fix a lifestyle.
Before you know it, you're 40 or 50.
And it's too late at that point to try and 100% restart, right? So
100%. It's more difficult at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Because now you got a family and everybody that's going to, you know, rely on you.
And correct. And then so it's like, well, do I take that risk? You know, when in your 20s, and, you know, I have a son, he's going to be 5 this year. That's still a risk. Yep. However, you know, I'm not tied down. I'm a single father. So I'm able to take those risks and very calculated risk. With him coming into this world, it has changed my vision to say, okay, now I got to take more calculated risk instead of, hey, I'm just going to take a risk. And that's what everyone should do. But when you're in your 40s, you got to be very careful on the risks you take.
Agreed. I mean, there's a lot more riding on it too.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
But I agree. I mean, I have 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 beautiful baby daughter.
Oh yeah.
My 2 stepboys, 20 and 17, or soon to be 17. You know, I just had this conversation literally this week with Bryce, my 20-year-old, and it was like, look, man, if you can understand that the next decade, if you put the work in, you're not going to spend the next, 50 years of your life grinding.
Oh, 100%.
You'll set yourself up. Whereas most people are, what we just said, are going to spend their 20s to go
party and
mess it up. And then,
Look, the way I see is that, everyone wants the Ferraris, Lamborghinis, that lifestyle. Lamborghini's not going out of business. I promise you that. I can guarantee Lamborghini's not going out of business. Ferrari's not going out of business. Gulfstream, Bombardier, all those are not going out of business.
Yep.
They'll be there in 10 years where you can buy them. And I promise you it's going to have better technology, quicker, more fuel efficient. So grind out those 20s as much as possible. Put those blinders on, all those distractions of going out and partying. Hey, you want to go on the boat this week? No, I can't. Learn how to say no and be comfortable saying no in your 20s, because you're going to say no a lot more. So if you can be comfortable saying no, I think grinding out in those 20s, you're going to see beyond, in your 30s and 40s, huge success where you can then go on a boat. And it's not going to be a boat. It's going to be a yacht on the weekends in your 30s compared to a little boat on Lake Wylie or Lake Norman.
Spending the weekend just drinking, partying. I mean, look, again, I'm not here to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do, but I think nobody gives you the fast-forwarded view of, like, if you have that discipline, what does it correlate to, right?
Correct.
And so, like, hopefully one 20-year-old is listening to this.
Hopefully.
And they
take action.
Take action.
That's the biggest thing, is just take action. So. Yeah, no, I love that. So, that expertise of going in there, changing those companies around, you're really seeing the people, the culture being something that's a common, mishap amongst those companies. And then from there, real estate caught your eye?
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Yeah, my real estate story is, I give all the credit to my wife, and it's like half joking, but sort of true, is that she wanted a beach house. And it was...
is it Wilmington?
So we're... most of our properties are Ocean Isle.
Ocean
Beach,
Isles,
North
got
Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. But we also have in Tennessee and Pigeon Forge area as well. Yeah. But I think it was 2015. She had said, "Hey, we need a beach house. We have 2 little kids, right?" Like
that was really right before like the Airbnb boom.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good call on her.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Should she be sitting in here too?
She probably should. I mean, she is my partner in the business. And,
I love that.
We keep it lean.
Let's bring her in.
So she said she wanted a beach house, and we bought our first property, and it was small. It was a condo. We had no idea what we were doing. And actually, it was right, if everybody remembers the financial crash, 08, 09.
Yeah.
Prices really got depressed, and it was in Oak Island at the time.
Okay.
All right. And when we were still looking in 15, so at the peak, these condos were selling for like 300. We were looking at condos all over the island, and these were going for like 185.
Interesting.
I was like,
what's going on?
Something, right? Up. Like assessment on it. What's going on? Nothing. Everything checked out, but it just was like, it had not rebounded. So I didn't know much, but what I knew at this point was like, I'm going to buy one of these, maybe 2 of these, and we'll just go with it.
For sure.
And that kind of got my foot into the door of the real estate itch. We ended up turning that one into a single family.
Love that.
Kept just upgrading. And then, you get into a nice size portfolio, and we have a little bit of a managing arm now. We own properties.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how many properties do you currently have right now?
We own 8 properties ourselves.
Love that. It's very important to hand select, in my opinion, those type of rentals.
Oh, yeah.
Vacation rentals. You got to, especially in the Carolinas, wintertime, not that many people are using it. Yeah. So you got to be careful to make sure that you're budgeting for that. How did that all play into effect when you guys were hand selecting those properties and then started to grow those properties? Because we all know Pigeon Forge, great, tourist area, really year round too.
It is.
But when it comes to the beach, it's a whole different world out there. So, how was that process of saying, okay, we're going to hand select these because these are in these locations, things like that?
The beautiful thing we have with North Carolina is that the weather is pretty temperate year round.
Yeah. And it has been for the past 3-4 years. It hasn't snowed. Normally it snows like once a year.
Yeah. And so we actually still rent pretty much year round.
Oh, good.
But in the off season for us, it's, you get a lot of just, couples or families that are just going down just to kind of get away. We do even some like midterm stuff in the off season, right? They'll book a month or 2. But we looked at properties that just would have the ability to house a certain size of a guest, right? So these are now we have 7-8 bedroom properties.
So they're bigger.
These are bigger
So
properties.
you're
now.
thinking, okay, your family, my family, we're
Exactly.
going to go and do it together.
That's exactly
Which
right.
at the end of the day, it's more cost effective.
It is.
If it's like, hey, you and I will split it 50-50. We'll go all in. We'll get this big house, near the beach or on the beach, pool and all that. It's more cost effective.
Yeah, and I mean, we looked at the markets and again said like, you've got golf in the off season still, even down there. We're right outside of North Myrtle Beach, which has
huge.
I don't know the actual number of golf courses, but it's insane. Like everywhere you turn. And so we get a ton of that in the off season to fulfill it. And Ocean Isle Beach is a 7-night rental, Saturday to Saturday during the summer.
Oh, love that.
So it's pretty unique. And I don't know how the other beaches go, to be very honest. I haven't looked into it, but for that reason, Ocean Isle really for us, I mean, we're 100% booked basically from May 1st all the way to September.
Wow.
Yeah, every year and on every property down there.
So people are coming down there for 7 days.
7
They're
days.
not coming down there for 2 days or 1 day.
That's
Definitely not 1 day, but 2 days, 3 days. They're coming down for a week at a time.
Week at a time, yeah.
Wow.
So, that also impacts, hey, we don't have to turn the property as much. The operating expenses
Are lower.
Lower, yeah. So it all kind of played into it. And, we also, everybody asks, like, what's the right time and rates and that whole story. But a little bit of luck, a little bit of, hey, again, you got to be in the game to actually win the game.
Most definitely.
We just happened to just find a property there that at the time was a 7-bedroom, 7-bath. We got it for under $400,000 on the island,
cow.
and now
It's probably double.
you can't get into the island for less than $1.5 million on the
Yeah.
island. So it's like, but again, you have to be in the game
Most
to
definitely.
be able to sort of
To
capture
understand
on
it and see it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the debt. What type of debt are you placing on that?
So it just depends. I mean, we are typically doing investment loans and investment properties, right? So some of them have been where it's 10, 15%, 20% down. Traditional mortgages on an investment style loan. We do some DSCR type loans and funding as well, some private loans. We've also done and raised some capital where we have some JVs.
Nice.
And we've got 2 properties down there where we have JVs with them as well.
Nice. And that was my next question. Is there any deals you've raised capital on?
Yeah, we have. We've done it on 3 now, actually. 2 in that market, 1 up in Pigeon Forge.
Do you think you're going to keep pushing on with that?
I think it's an avenue, and I think it has to happen if we want to expand,
If
right?
you wanna
Like there's no question. I know the answer to that. I selfishly and where I'm at, I mean, I'm still running full-time corporate sales as a CRO, right? So I've got a day job that, again, back to where we started this conversation, I go in, we basically take companies that are either failing or struggling, build out that team, and we're trying to get that company acquired. So I think once I get out of that world and I have more ability to just completely focus on the real estate, I will at some point. But I like to be very methodical on which properties we're picking now. It's my wife and I for the most part in most of the portfolio.
Yeah.
And so, there's a time where it will scale, and I think yes, to raise capital and get into more probably commercial with things that you're doing, other things like that. But for now,
and you have to.
There's no question.
When I first got in and created QC, my biggest thing that I looked at was, and I was in the brokerage industry, ran great companies there. But I've noticed if you look at all your billionaires, they all raise capital. Look at Elon Musk. He bought Twitter, which is now known as X. What did he do? Raised from Saudi, raised from Chase, Bank of America. He raised capital. Could he have sold his, stock, which he's fighting right now to get his $56 billion, which I hope he gets. I actually think I saw the board did approve that and approve the Texas move. So good job to X. But could he pay cash for that business? He could have. But he knew that wasn't the smartest thing.
Sure.
He knew leverage. You raise capital, pay them a return, scale it to the next level.
Yeah.
Now he's in the process on the back of doing some open AI stuff, which is going to be huge for Elon X and everything he's going on. But it's super important. If you want to scale, you got to learn how to raise capital. You got to learn how to raise, especially through, Securities Exchange Commission, Reg D, 506C, which we always do with accredited investors. I think it's super important to master raising capital so you can scale. Because you can take, 5 or 8 properties and double it easily. In 1 quarter, you can do that. And we're doing that in the car wash sector. It's boom, 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 boom.
So yeah, I think you're on the right track. I know you're on the right track, and I'm excited for that.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I'm actually going to need to tap into your playbook a little bit.
Let's
here,
do
so,
it.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Because we know that there's a ceiling here, right, for us and what we're doing. So
there's a ceiling for everything when you do it on your own.
Yeah.
You have to do it as a team, and that goes back to your experience of hopping into companies. You're not hopping into a one-man show. You're hopping into a company that has a team, and if you will easily see the weakest person in that team,
right,
just like a football team.
Yep.
You'll see the weakest person on the field, and you have to go in there and make sure you have your top players on the field. I like Formula One, so your top drivers in the car. You have to make sure, and if they don't perform, they're out. Period. And that's the same thing of growing a business. Is when you're starting to raise capital to scale, you have to make sure the team is there, so you can scale. And it's going to take a lot of time and energy. You're successful at it. You already do it already on a daily basis. Now you just have to do it with your own company with raising capital.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Me too, man.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. How has Airbnb? So in 2015, did you throw everything right there on Airbnb, or did you have that third party manager?
Yeah. We started with a management company down there, and they're all ran by the realtors.
Yeah.
And you interview all of them, and they all tell you the greatest things they're going to do. But what
you go through them quickly.
Yeah,
they're like girlfriends sometimes.
Yeah, it felt like that. And naively, what I didn't realize is that I was like, well, I put my hard-earned money, I put, I don't know, $100,000 into that property, whatever it was. And it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, right? They didn't care about me.
They don't care.
I was this much in like their management fees. I was,
you're just another number.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in their portfolio, I was a really small number, right? Because the size and revenue that they can get. So I didn't.
If you had 15, 20 units, then they'd be like, okay, we're going to pay a little more attention to you because it's going to be a big revenue suck from their
but
balance sheet.
The crazy thing is, I realized that, it was also just so poorly run all across the board. And so that actually, we would go down to the property and it would be filled with dust. Things would be broken. We were never notified, right? So I was like, and they knew we were coming. So I always said, this is their best.
So you didn't even secret shop it. You guys said, hey, we're going to come.
It's owner blocked.
You would think they would show up.
Dude, I'm telling you, and this was where I was like, okay, if they actually don't care that much, knowing that I'm going to be there, they're definitely not doing anything when
you're not even there.
Yeah, my guests are there.
That's the biggest thing about integrity, is doing what you're supposed to be doing when no one's looking.
So, I actually had no idea about Airbnb at this point, but I had a neighbor that had just bought the condo also at the same time. He's like, you ever think about self-hosting?
And you're like, what
does that mean, man?
That's a lot of work.
And he actually, he built one of his own website.
Oh, no way.
And this is before, again, there's
that boom of Airbnb.
A dime a dozen.
VRBO, all that.
And there's all websites that you could build your own really nice, elegant.
Very similar, yeah.
But at the time, you had to basically go build a Wix type, website or something like that. And you would try and promote it and market it and then get bookings. So I did that. And I actually, leveraged social media and just kind of started post it out, and we got bookings.
Oh, really?
And this is even before I put it on Airbnb. And then,
so how are you even marketing it?
Just literally taking the link of what I built, and I took photos.
And so people are Googling, that beach, that island.
We did a little bit of
SEO
with it, and some paid behind it. Nothing crazy, but I that's not my bread and butter. I don't know that. And then we would put it on social media, and then just with Facebook or whatever, people would literally click on it, and be like, "Oh, I want to go on a vacation, cool," and we'd book it. Then somebody said, "Hey, you should probably put this on Airbnb."
Yeah,
and so we did.
Okay.
And then we realized what we were booking. This is the other light bulb went off.
Yeah,
we were charging double the nightly rate on our self booking, and then any bookings that we did, we would still pass over to the management company because we had them kind of overlapped.
Correct.
But we would get charged a smaller percentage, and then I was like, okay, I was doing the math, running the numbers. I was like, okay, this makes sense. I'm just going to completely remove it from them, run it myself. Now, the hard part was, hey, they were taking care of the cleaning. They were taking care of all the linens. So then I had to go down this whole rabbit hole to try to figure out
who's their contacts, who's their vendors that are doing it, and hire them.
And so for the, again, the single person or the mom and pop that's trying to figure this out, it's difficult.
It's easier calling you up and saying, "Hey, I want to partner with you.
Yeah.
Here's $50,000 in your fund.
That's right.
Go do it."
That's right.
That's the same thing with the car wash industry. We pivoted. Now we're only into car washes.
Yep.
And we even have car wash owners who own their own car wash that not some in some circumstances they don't have enough money to buy another one.
Sure.
And they still love the car wash industry. In some circumstances, they're retiring, still love it, so they want to place their money with us.
right.
And we're putting it into a fund that are buying car washes. So for those that are doing it and realizing, okay, are we going to give 10, 20% management fee to someone who doesn't care? It's going to get ran down. People are going to tear it up. They're not going to do anything. Or they can go ahead and put it into your soon-to-be fund, hopefully.
Right. That's right.
And start expanding from it.
And that's exactly what we did. And with the JVs, that was the model where it's like, hey, we've got, lawyers and doctors that they got higher income earners and they want to put their money somewhere. They wanted to get into this game, but they're not going to go figure out how to.
And it's higher cash flow than the market.
Absolutely.
Unless you're buying, GameStop and day trading that every single second, which that you're not going to be doing. Yeah, I know, right? There's only a couple of people that are going to get real rich there. It's the short sellers and then the guy who's pumping it. But it's really high cash flow and it will outperform the market at the end of the day.
It absolutely will.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was what attracted us to that market. And then again, it's about finding the right properties.
Most definitely.
The ones that you think have the ability to actually cash flow. And, this in real estate and any business, you have to be able to understand the numbers. Right?
You do.
You've got to be able to underwrite the deal. And even if you're going to invest in a fund, you can't just take the word
Correct.
for what somebody's putting on a spreadsheet.
Most definitely.
You have to be able to know how to actually underwrite that
100%.
deal. And so that's one of the things that we do teach others that are trying to figure this out, how to underwrite it. We have a whole model and capacity so that you can input and then estimate. And there's some really great tools out there now that do a lot of this for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, like back in 15, 16, man, it was we were building things out on our own. We were cold calling.
Technology advanced. Like crazy.
And now there's a website that basically puts everything together for you, and then they tell you what market are you in. All right, here's who you need. Here's who you need.
Yep.
Call them.
Oh yeah, just Air DNA is a good one too. Pulls up comps. It's just like CoStar for us. It pulls up comps with everything.
Absolutely.
I think a big thing, what a lot of people don't realize, and I found this out a couple years ago, and don't hold me to the number, but if your spouse, so if you're working a W-2 and your spouse is quote unquote a real estate professional, by having a couple Airbnbs or more, and I believe it's like 100 or 250 hours a year, they can all automatically designate themselves as a real estate professional.
That's right.
And then now you can utilize the tax benefits and depreciation. I know for like if you're doing regular real estate professional, it's 750 hours minimum as a real estate professional, but Airbnbs and single family like short-term rentals actually have a very unique tax advantage.
That's
where that number is not 750. I believe it's like 100 or 250. It's a lot lower than 750.
I don't want to speak out of line. And,
we're not CPAs.
Our CPA does a great job, but yes, you're right. It is a much lower number. It's the short-term rental loophole that they call it, right? Where it's a significantly less number of hours, and if you materially participate, whether it's treated as active versus passive, also is the way it factors in. So, there's definitely. I mean, that's the reason we also stayed in it, because of being W-2 earners on the corporate side helps to offset all of that, right, with the tax advantages, and then you have things like bonus depreciation and cost segregation that go on top of that with the house itself, and so then you could. Write off some good losses.
Compounding all of that is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's that. And that's what people don't truly understand when they're getting into real estate. It's like, yes, show me the cash flow, great, but there's all these other items that you're not thinking of, and then it's again, you hold a property for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You continue to make upgrades. You're paying down the mortgage. That property is appreciating, hopefully, because you're in the right market and the market's doing well. It's almost impossible for it not to do that. And then all of a sudden you look back in 5 years and you've got a multi-million-dollar portfolio.
Correct.
And all you did, and I always say this, like we started with that first property was probably $50,000 that we put in. We've never put another dollar into any real estate.
You just kept compounding.
Just kept compounding, right? And like that, people, I don't think really understand that.
No, they don't.
It's like
it's the Warren Buffett effect. That's what Warren Buffett did. He just kept compounding it. That's right. You're not going out taking it and blowing it on things like that. You're compounding it, and then you're having that cash flow come in.
That's exactly right.
I love it, and I think it's more important that people really open their eyes up these days, because there's so much going on with our government. There's so much going on with our value of our dollar decreasing, and putting your capital, putting your capital in a 401k and just letting someone else manage it and being controlled by Wall Street, you're going to get a very small return, and in some cases you may lose everything as well. And then what? You're 80 years old and you're going to have to go back and work. because you weren't disciplined in your 20s and 30s to go buy a couple rental houses or invest into funds, private funds like that to grow another side of your portfolio?
That comment right there scared me to death. Like coming out of college, which was like, man, am I gonna have to do this until I'm 80?
I know,
like
right?
Literally, right? And so I think most people are fearful because they don't have the answers, right? They just don't. They're not in the room.
In my opinion, that's okay. You're not going to. I don't have all the answers. No one's going to have all the answers. I thought we were at least going to have 2 decreases in rates this year. I don't think any.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see them a year from now, middle of next year, we'll see our first one.
Probably.
If we see one in Q1 of next year, I'd be shocked. But this year, I don't think we're going to have any rate increases. I was wrong, and I'll admit it. I was wrong. I'm okay admitting myself when I'm wrong. And so I think a lot of people are that fear of failure is actually them doubting themselves, and they don't want to take that leap.
Yeah.
But you're not going to know everything. You just got to jump. Just do it.
Jump. Just get in. Yeah.
And it's better to jump when you're in your 20s, when you have nothing that no one's that is relying you on support, than when you're in your 30s or 40s and you have a family and they're all relying on you. Now that is a lot more stress and a lot more pressure. But it's a lot easier doing it in your 20s.
You could rebound a lot faster.
Yeah. One thing I find consistent, and this is amongst a lot of, and I talk to probably 10, 15 investors per day.
Yep.
Even with doing these podcasts, a ton of them all the way throughout the night. One thing I find consistent amongst all of the investors, and they range, I would say, late 30s is our youngest. And I would say on average, our investor base is probably in their 50s, mid 50s. We have some that are 60s, 70s. But one thing I find in all of them that are common is that they all told me they wish they bought more. They wish they did stuff sooner. And it's so easy. And I was talking with my business partner this morning. It's so easy to say that when you look back.
Sure.
I wish you and I bought Bitcoin.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
it was 50 cents. It's so easy to say that, but when it was 50 cents, we didn't know about it. Plus, we may have been like,
skeptical.
I don't know. And then look where it did. Look what happened to it. So if we took that leap and say, hey, I'm just going to throw $1,000 in Bitcoin, watch it skyrocket, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I made some money. Now, you're not going to be able to do that in all different type of investments, but the goal is to take action you can. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I say it now too. Like if I would have just amplified even 10 years ago, like I'd be in a much different place, and we're doing great, right? By most means, but it's like, it's easy to say that now. But I also have to appreciate everything that we've done all the way, the journey, the ups, the downs. We went into a restaurant business, short term, and did that for 4 years. And it's like, was it the best financial decision?
You loved
it? Don't get into restaurants.
I was going to say, I always say never get into the restaurant industry.
I mean, we grew up in restaurants. We love restaurants, actually. I love cooking. I love everything about health. It just, and then that it actually didn't align with my core values and the type of food that we actually eat outside. So that was also a conflict of interest, but the financials did not work. So
it's very hard to make it make sense. It's wild, especially in this high inflated market environment.
High inflated market. Nobody wants to work. Everybody thinks that they want to get paid.
Don't even get me started on that. We have an
6-figure salary.
We have an internship program. Okay, so listen to this. We have an internship program, and Stephanie, our CMO, does the interview of the internships. We've had a couple interns that want $60,000 to $80,000, and I'm like, you guys are a sophomore in college. Are you kidding me?
If you want a pulse on where we're at as a society, I think it's that right there. Right?
It's unbelievable.
Again, and I think you're okay and allowed to have that viewpoint, right? But just understand, if you don't have anything to bring as value, then that is completely...
You're wasting your time.
Exactly.
You're wasting your time.
The problem is, most people don't have anything to bring to the table.
And they think they do.
And they think they do.
They feel like they're entitled. They think, I'm going to come to this organization and I'm going to bring everything. No, you're not.
Look, I tell my kids every day, shoot for the freaking stars.
Oh, you should.
Right?
You should. Most definitely.
Again, I'm not even saying good for them for asking, but
Correct.
also
you also have to be realistic.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic in doing it. I'm sure people told Elon Musk, you're crazy to go to Mars. But he's like, okay, watch, I'm going to show you. But he was realistic. I'm going to create a rocket to go to Mars. I'm not going to put on a rocket on my back and then go out to Mars. That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
So, one thing I love is I follow you on Instagram. I love how family oriented you are. You're a phenomenal husband. And those short-term rentals gave you and your family the ability to travel the world.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the RV. Now, I'm just saying this. I love you, but I think it is wild that people would travel around in an RV. Yeah. I think that's a lot of, time in one little short space.
You got to really like each other, man.
You got to love each other, not just like each other. You got to love each other. Kids getting on top of each other, nagging and things like that. Talk to us about one. It's wonderful that short-term rentals gave you the ability to go ahead and say, hey, we have that freedom. We have that financial freedom to say, hey, we're going to just go ahead and pack things up in an RV and travel the world and create those memories, which are, those kids are never going to forget. And they're probably going to want to do that with their children,
for sure.
Which is remarkable. Walk us through okay, what was that decision with you and the wife to say, let's go do this? And tell us a little bit about, the journeys.
Yeah. I mean, everything we do has some leverage or focus on, can we turn this into some form of a business or make money or at very least break even, quite honestly. And
I don't mean, I'm going to interrupt a lot, but I think a lot of relationships don't see that way.
I agree.
Relationship is a business, in my opinion. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is a business. You sign a contract. If you're going to get married, it's a business. I think when you make financial decisions as a family, you need to think business and logical. You do not need to think with feelings involved.
That's correct.
The first time you start to think with feelings involved, everything goes downhill and you cannot operate a business.
Yeah, I agree. And so we, in all our decisions, my wife and I, Danielle, that's pretty much how we think about everything from day-to-day decisions. So the RV was very similar. We both actually wanted to just do it personally. But then we looked at it and said, well, look, we've got a short-term rental portfolio. We knew of others that were actually renting out RVs. And
I've heard of that business too.
yeah. And I mean, COVID again kind of blew that up, right? That whole market. So then we started looking into it and seeing what we can find. And we wanted something that was drivable. So we ended up with a Class C. Again, you got different classes. This is a motorhome that we didn't have to trail anything.
Yeah, you can just walk right back to the kitchen, the little living room. You can hear the kids.
It was it's a 32-foot. It's easy enough for if my wife wants to drive it or I drive it. Easy.
I see. If I ever did something like that, I don't think I would, but I would do something the way you guys did it. I couldn't trail it.
Yeah.
And be in a confined truck and things like that.
I've never done it, right? I haven't even pulled, so I'm no aficionado of RVing world. But the fifth wheels are way, way nicer.
Are they?
Much more space. Oh yeah, man.
Really?
You start looking into them. Because they have bump outs and slides on both sides. The ceiling height is.
Some
double.
have hardwood floors, granite countertops. I've walked into some and I'm like, this doesn't even look like one. Yeah, you don't even feel like
they
it.
They can go for $1 million plus.
It's wild. There's one I saw. They take it to the racetrack and they actually keep their Porsche under it. So it drops down because I know it's all on hydraulics and airbags. Drops down and you actually have your Porsche right under it. Yeah, that's wild.
We don't have a crazy one like that. But
no Ferrari under it.
Not yet, man.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Just a quick reminder to make sure you never miss an episode. Stay connected with us by following us on social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok at Chris_Salerno_. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube to catch the video versions of our episode. You'll get exclusive content, behind-the-scenes footage, and much more. Head over to YouTube, Chris_Salerno now, and hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned because we've got more great content coming right after this.
No, so we looked at it. We said, okay, can we buy one that's going to at least just let us travel, go explore, have some time together, and then also can we rent it out? And the first one we bought, it actually is cash flow positive. We do rent it out still. We actually just got a booking this morning. I swear, man.
So you are operating these RVs, just like your single family your short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals. I mean, there's a couple great apps that kind of cut their teeth, and they're the premier in the market. RV Share's one. I'll give them a shout out. Outdoorsy's another.
So I'd go to RV Share, and I would go ahead and say, hey, I want to rent this RV for this next week.
That's right.
I'll upload license, all that stuff.
You see who's in the market in the area that has one for sale available, not for sale, for rent available. And then you can kind of pick, and it's the same way like a Airbnb. And then you see which one it has, and number of people that you're bringing, sleeping capacity.
Really? So there's a market out for RV rentals.
So this is actually when now that I think of it, my wife, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe it was just last year, we rented a Class A.
Okay.
This is a funny story. So
is Class A like multifamily, like your top of
Class
the top,
A
beautiful?
is like the buses.
Okay,
like
so those are the
Coach,
beautiful.
the Mac Daddy,
okay,
right?
got it.
So
I could see you driving that with a big wheel, going down the road.
So she's like, I think it was Memorial Day weekend, and I think it was a year ago, but I might have the days wrong. Neither here nor there. She gets on this app. We find a Class A. It's about an hour and a half away. We're gonna get in it, and I'm like, well, where are we gonna go?
So you guys weren't even thinking where we're gonna go. We're just gonna go do it.
So as we're kind of going through
What do the
this,
kids say? Hey, where are we going, guys?
They think we're insane, but they love it. It's a good insane. We end up landing on that we're gonna drive this thing up to Canada.
No way.
Oh yeah, and now we've got. How many of us were there? We had all 4 kids. We took our nanny that lives with us, and my mother-in-law. She turned.
You got a packed bus.
Yes, but my mother-in-law drove alongside.
Smart. She's like, I'm gonna let you guys go crazy in the bus.
She turned the minivan into her own camper.
Oh, I love it.
Another story.
Smart mother-in-law.
So we get to this person's house. We they're showing us everything, and they're like, "So where are you gonna go?" And we tell them Canada, and they're like, Canada. Have you ever driven an RV? I'm like, no, this is my first time.
They're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine? I mean,
oh my god.
But actually, long story short, it wasn't as bad driving it. I was kind of white knuckling it a little bit on the highway the first hour. But then you get used to it. And I tell you, man, it opened our eyes to like, okay, this is friggin' cool. Like we got to see parts of the country. And honestly, what we loved about it is just the freedom of, you started this by saying family, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It is everything to me, my family, my wife, my kids, and just being around them. And we could be doing nothing, but just talking.
The presence. And that's how my business partner and I, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. We said, and we get slack from it all the time, but him and I could just be in a room and not even say anything for hours, but it's just the energy, the presence, just that. It's just like easy going and calm.
So it was like we just fell in love with it,
and
then we ended up finding one, buying one, and then we rented it out the same way we do with our Airbnbs.
That is wild.
It's been cash flow positive.
I think what I'm visioning right now is a Vision Jet for you guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you fly, have a nice little Vision Jet, and you guys travel the world in a little Vision Jet.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, most definitely. Wow, cash flowing
it's
RVs.
Cash flowing, yeah.
You think you guys got to get another one?
We may. I mean, it's not
like
it's
a
not
steady
hitting a home run. I
yeah.
mean, but again, when I think about it, it's like we've done 4 trips up and down the East Coast. We've seen all parts of Maine and Canada.
And the kids are never going to forget that.
Never forget it, man. And
they're going to want to do it with their kids.
We're going to go out west, probably here.
Are you RV it?
September. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah, we were supposed to do it last year, but we just couldn't fit it into the schedule. So
I love it.
And that. So again,
I wonder if there's a market for smaller like jets, like Vision Jet, to do that. I mean, yes, I know chartering and things like that, but
I think there is.
Yeah,
actually,
interesting. I know of a company they actually charter Vision Jets, like that's their thing.
Okay,
their whole fleet is just Vision Jets.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a little cheaper because of the jet and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. So you're going out west?
Yeah, we're gonna do it probably for like 2 months.
Do you drive the whole time, or you let your wife drive?
The trips we've done, I've driven the whole time, but going out west, she'll probably jump behind it. I mean, she does like locally transport it,
So she's good driving.
Yeah,
you feel good,
and that's why we bought this one because it's not a beast.
Correct. So yeah,
it sits on I think an E450 chassis, so it's like
okay. So it's
it's like
just
driving
a super
U-Haul.
size, U-Haul, suburban, big suburban. Yeah,
she's fine.
There you go. I love it.
It's cool, man.
You're very, very busy. You're scaling companies. You're building your own real estate portfolio. You're traveling the world. How does Nick stay healthy? How does Nick make sure he's not eating pizza and because if you go on the road right outside of any major city, you are not getting anything healthy. I will tell you.
Yeah.
When my son and I drive down to Florida, I pack the food. With certain snacks and things like that because I know. The next place is Columbia, which is somewhat of a city. Then from there, you got what you're not going to really go to Savannah. You're going to go to Jacksonville.
Sure. Yep.
If you're taking 95 down, there's nothing healthy on any of these roads. How is Nick staying healthy, and then how are you also keeping up with your workout regimen?
So particularly to when I'm on the road with RVs, et cetera, or just in general right now?
Let's say in general, and then we'll dive into the RVs. Let's say in general, because you're busy working and things like that. I know for me, I don't eat in the morning. I only have like one meal at night. I drink a lot of coffee. I love my coffee. But it's like I can't go and sit down and have meals for lunch. And I don't really like having meals for lunch because right after that meal, I feel like
Sluggish.
I'm like, I may have to take some lion's mane or something like that to get me up running. But other than that, it's like I prefer to eat one time a day. I feel great doing it. Yeah, I eat one time a day, and that's
So
it.
just like your evening meal right now?
Evening meal. That's it. Yeah. And sometimes I'm so busy with work, it's like 7 p.m. and I'm like, oh, I forgot to eat. I know.
Well, I do like to eat.
Now, when I'm on vacation, I will chow down. I'm chowing down.
Yeah.
Room service, everything.
So health is a core tenet and principle for me. It's just like there's without it, nothing else that I do in my life exists.
You can't operate at a high level.
And so, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, when you have a day that's so busy, you can only do so many things with your time. And so when we had the two little ones, actually what triggered it was my daughter, she would wake up about like 3 o'clock.
Oh, you
like
gotta
in the
love
middle
that.
Of the night, right?
You gotta love it.
And I would take that feeding and I would just get up, feed her, put her back to bed, and then I'd go to the gym.
Oh.
And then that just
So she woke up around 3 a.m. consistently. So you're like, okay, boom, I'm going to wake up, feed her for about 30, 40 minutes, make sure she goes back down, gym by 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. And the gyms were open at 24/7 at that time. Now they're all like...
Now everything closed.
They truncated it.
God, COVID.
So, I get up and it's 5 a.m. I'm at the gym.
Yep.
Get it in before everybody else is up. And by the time I'm done, kids are now just waking up. I get my time with the kids, and then I get to go, obviously start my day and focus on it, whatever has to be done. So you have to, make it a priority. It has to be on the schedule. If I don't do that, then everything else takes precedent, or, there's 9,000 fires that happen in a day.
Most definitely.
So I think that's the first and foremost. And then,
so you're a morning guy. You like to work out in the morning?
Absolutely.
I'm opposite. I like evening.
See, I get too worked up, and I do you not have trouble going to sleep at night?
Why don't we ask Stephanie?
See,
so no matter what, even if I worked out in the mornings, I have trouble sleeping. Like Stephanie will know, I'll text her 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. because my work is keeping me up. Yeah. It's not my how I feel working out. Yeah. It's my work. My mind I can't turn off. So that's what keeps me up. But the reason why I work out in the evenings to lower my energy level. I try to put that workout, sauna, steam room. I go all out to try to lower my energy level so I can get home and be like, okay, this will help me get to bed, because my mind is like, you got to do a lot of things.
Have you tried the morning and just switched it up to see what would happen?
I feel like I have tried the morning. Okay. And when I ran Division I track, we used to have 5 a.m. workouts every single morning. What I have found is like during the day, my mind is not totally in tuned.
Got it.
And I don't like that. Yeah. I like to be sharp with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it is. I have no problem sleeping.
Totally opposite of me.
Yeah. So like, when I'm ready to go, and I run on about 6 hours of sleep at night. Like that's my optimal there. Trying to balance again, just having time with the kids and family.
I think it's important too to know your level of sleep.
Absolutely.
Like I'm in the same boat as you. I can operate 6 hours.
Yep.
I can operate off 3 hours. I can operate off none. Sure. But I prefer about 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Like that's my sweet spot. If I get more than that, I feel like okay, I'm wasting my time.
A Whoop or any of the tracking health devices?
No, I know Stephanie does. I've heard of it. The Ring. We had a good friend of mine on. He does that as well. I think I need to look into that.
I'll tell you, it's funny. My wife would always make fun of me. She's like, you need something to tell you that you slept like shit.
Yeah. Actually, I just followed the CEO who created that ring. I just followed him on IG. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so I use the Whoop, which is the band.
Got it.
And
like an armband?
Yeah.
So there's like a watch?
I don't have it on right now.
Got it.
It's it just kind of sits right here. It's a strap. And
it tracks it all.
It tracks everything. And I'm so into just trying to optimize
your time, your efficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then you realize like, you can be sleeping 6 hours, but it's like, what's the quality of that sleep that you're actually getting?
Do you take anything to sleep? Like have a deep sleep?
No actual supplements there. I mean, I think everything I do in the day that probably helps to try to drive it. And, I'm really strict about shutting down the blue lights at night and not being on the phone with at the house. When we're done with dinner, it's like basically like it's
relax,
activity. We go outside, sun setting, we're doing a family walk, like really, really intentional stuff to try and like get everybody winding down
No, most
versus more screens. But yeah, I mean, I've never had issues sleeping. So my wife always laughed because she's like, "What do you need that to tell you that you slept good or bad?" I'm like, it's other stuff.
That's
right.
what I
It's
think
the recovery. But anyway, back to your question: how do you eat healthy? It is also when you have a household and family, you've got to be intentional about setting the standard of
Oh my
what
God!
we're gonna
Because
do.
you got kids.
Yeah.
If they're in school, they're having their buddy over here eating Cheetos and the biggest thing too with goldfish, all that stuff. I was brought to my attention through social media. I was looking. If you look, and I don't know if this is new. I feel like it is because I haven't, really took a deep dive into it. But in the past 6 months, I've been looking. If you look in the ingredients, a lot of it says bioengineered food now. I don't remember it saying that like a year or 2 years ago. I don't know if something passed where it.
I don't know
But
what that is.
go look. If in the ingredients, this is bioengineered food. Which when I see that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done. None of that in my house.
We have a pretty strict rule where it's like none of that's in our house.
I love that.
At all.
Do you shop on? Have you ever heard of Thrive Market? Do you shop on that?
Yeah. We
Is
get
it
some
good?
stuff. Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah. I mean,
Because that's all like healthy. They say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we end up getting. I mean, we use Earth Fare, and you get some
All
stuff at Whole
that
Foods.
Sprouts.
We get a lot of our meat, whether it's locally. We just a lot of steak. So it's, I wouldn't say we're carnivore, but it's
I love steak too. Medium rare. That's how you gotta have it.
So it's
Anything over medium rare, get out.
my wife would probably prefer if it wasn't as much, but it's a good healthy balance, and so.
So are you the great thing is when you're in, we'll get to the RVs in a second, but with working, how are you optimizing during the day? Are you meal prepping, making sure you have meals, eating that very quickly? How are you optimizing that?
We basically have the consistent same schedule of what we're going to eat. It's not sexy or fun, but it is. So we, for the most part, I do 3 meals.
Discipline.
It is discipline.
That's a big thing. And you're consistent with it.
Like my, I'll tell you what I eat just regularly. So breakfast is pretty much plain Greek yogurt, local honey. My father-in-law has bees. Gives
Love
me
that.
the honey. Yep.
Honey's good for you.
It's great. Some fresh fruit, and then I'll have about 5 or 6 eggs.
Got it.
Every day, consistently. That's
that's your morning
That's
breakfast.
my first meal.
After you work out.
After I work out, it's
Got it.
probably like 9, 10 o'clock. Lunch, we'll have a protein, some veggie, maybe a little bit of carbs. So we're doing a little bit of rice like lately, but sometimes we'll cut that out.
Are you in the office or are you working from home?
I'm remote. So I'm from home.
So that's a lot easier working from home.
It is. Yeah. And so everybody's like, well, then I'm not at home. I don't have the luxury. So then I would meal prep. Right.
Yeah.
So when I used to be
You
in
would
an
just
office.
take it to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would probably do it just in batches for the week. And then for dinner, it's kind of the same thing where it's like we just have a protein. We do a little bit of a vegetable, maybe some fresh fruit as well. And sometimes we'll mix in a sweet potato. But it's like super simple. We don't overcomplicate it.
How are the kids loving that?
They love everything that we cook, and they're not picky eaters.
That's
and
good.
We've introduced all our kids from
At an early age. You have to, and you stayed consistent with it. So it's normal to them.
They don't know any better. My 5-year-old, I laugh because he's gonna probably watch this someday, but he thinks club soda is soda. Like
does he?
He doesn't drink.
Oh, he's gonna watch this.
Yeah,
one
he
day.
doesn't know.
Show it to him about 10 years from now.
He doesn't know what a Sprite or a Coke is.
He thinks club soda.
So we drink. We have pictures of him when he was just like able to walk. He was walking around with my Pellegrino bottles, and
love it.
See,
I love, and I saw it on Andrew Tate. I don't know if this is true or not, but I love when I go out to eat dinner, I always order sparkling water. When I go have cigars, sparkling water. Yeah. Everything I like is sparkling water, and if it's not sparkling water, it's spring water. I've done a lot of research into water and water companies, how they get it, all that. But I really enjoy sparkling water, especially if I'm going out to dinner or a dinner meeting, because it fills me up a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
And the bread, which I'm a sucker for the bread, or like nice steak with mashed potatoes and mac and cheese. I got to stay away from it. I don't eat as much because I have sparkling water.
I actually never looked at it from the fulfillment aspect, but I actually just like the carbonation. Yeah. I know some people don't like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like swiveling in my mouth.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, we do the same. Club soda, but lime.
Yeah. So you're staying consistent. You're making sure you guys are eating right, healthy food. You're not, eating any junk, fried food, anything like that.
We give ourselves, so we do date night once a week, my wife and I, every Thursday. It's been consistent.
I think I love that, Nick. Because a lot of people will get into families and they will not spend time by themselves. They'll not spend time with their significant other. And that goes away. And when that goes away, your family starts, going downhill. And I think it's super important that you guys have, hey, honey, Thursdays, date
Planned.
nights, we're going out. Kids are going to be watched. Boom, we got all that handled. Let's go.
Yeah, and it doesn't
Non-negotiable.
have to be non-negotiable. It's on the calendar. It doesn't have to be anything where we're doing something crazy
Fancy
every
or
week.
anything.
Sometimes it is spontaneous, but a lot of times we've been so busy in the week, and now
You
it's
just need
our
that
time
decompress.
just to have one-on-one. We're just talking. Like,
How's your week?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
I got to see Esther Perel. I don't know. If you
No,
know her.
haven't heard of him.
She's a relationship sort of guru.
Oh, cool.
She was on like Lewis Howes, and
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
to see her at his conference.
Nice.
I think 4 or 5 years ago, and she said something that always stuck with me, which is, and I'm going to butcher the phrase, but it was basically like, we give everything to everybody else, and then when we come home, we give the breadcrumbs basically to our partner. And it was like, how much are you pour into your investors, you pour
Oh,
into,
my God.
just to make sure everything's right.
Yeah, I don't sleep because I pour so much into it.
And then you come home and the dinner wasn't made right.
Yep.
Or
I have.
the floor is not
And
clean.
also being as a single father too, it's hard.
Well, yes.
Because I got crews, I got everything. No, I don't have anyone else doing
Yes.
it. It's me. And we
Yes.
have a maid that comes
Sure.
on a monthly basis, but she's not coming every single day.
Yeah.
So I got to make sure everything's taken care of and things like that on top of that.
Yeah. So for me, it was like, man, you really have to be intentional about it and pour into it. And so where I was going with the reason I said the date night was like, that's our cheat night.
I love
like
that.
we get to, but even when we cheat, like we usually go do sushi.
You're not going to go cheat in fried food like KFC.
Yeah. Honestly, it's crazy because I don't know. It's probably been 5 years of really deliberate about what we're eating and our health. That stuff it's not even desirable to me anymore.
No.
Like
It's not really.
It's kind of crazy to say because but like I used to have the biggest sweet tooth. I mean, I used to love chocolate cake.
I was going to say, I love me some good chocolate cake.
And I'm like,
Chocolate chip cookies, all that.
I'll have a bite.
Correct.
And I'm like, okay, I'm good.
So I have gelato in my freezer. If you go look, it doesn't have when I bought
freezer
it.
burn now.
It is freezer burn because I'll go and just take like a scoop, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I can't eat a whole thing. I can't eat half of it. I go and take like just one scoop. Cool, I'm done.
Good discipline.
Have a good day. And I think you have to have that discipline.
Yeah.
I went last year. I went overseas. Hung out with a wonderful woman over there. And when I was over there, she was like, "Oh, KFC? Do you guys?" I'm like, "No." And I'm like, no, KFC, no. And she goes, "Oh, we love it over here." I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like I do not do any fast food. I stopped Chick-fil-A, no Chick-fil-A, nothing. I do no fast food whatsoever.
It's good, man.
So having sushi, things like that, that's,
I mean,
you got the rice and all that, but
like if I were to sit here, I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not
Correct.
a dietitian, right? Like, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we don't, eat or enjoy ourselves. Like, but it's back to the point where you have discipline for the 80 to 90% of the week. And when I coach guys all the time and they're, trying to figure out like, how do I stay in track? People fall off because it's like, well, if you're trying to kill yourself and cut everything out of the beginning, and that's not your life today, right? If you're eating like crap, you're drinking, if you try to go cold turkey,
No,
man,
it's not going to work.
You're going to last 2 weeks and then probably rebound even harder.
100%.
So it's, still give yourself the ability to have that cheat meal or whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
Keep it incorporated, but just focus 80% of the time doing what we consider, no processed foods, whole foods, right? Things that it's 1 or 2 ingredients.
Most definitely.
That's it. It's
And
pretty
the
simple.
biggest thing is that what is the number one, or in my opinion, the number one profit generator in the healthcare industry is insurance. It's the healthcare industry. It's trillions of dollars, cancer and all that. My mother has cancer, stage 4 breast cancer. She's been fighting it for 8-9 years. And when she goes in to take some of these tests, I found out that they give her certain type of shots of sugar, 100% sugar, and the sugar goes straight to the tumors. Cancer feeds off of the sugar.
Yeah.
And it's known too. If you Google it, cancer feeds off sugars. And if you look at everything, it's high in sugar. Also, sugar is like a dopamine. It's an addiction, just like drugs.
Yeah.
So cutting that out, yes, stuff's not going to taste good. It's going to, suck. Try to substitute it with some flavoring and things like that. But it's going to be better for your longevity of your health, so you can optimize and be a phenomenal husband. You are a phenomenal father, and then operate the companies that you do.
Absolutely, man. I mean, there again, we started this, I think, offline. mine.
Yeah.
Just saying there's no silver bullet.
Correct.
Like, sure, you can take some shortcuts, and sure, you can do some things that probably compromise, but we don't know what those are going to do on the back end of your life either, right?
Agreed.
And so it's like, well, we can do the hard thing and probably suffer for like 2-3 weeks, whatever that is. But once you get over that hurdle, you're in the clear, right? And so
the biggest thing you just said is suffering for a couple weeks. You're going to do that no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Creating a business, buying a business, operating a business, you are going to suffer. Accept the fact right now, that's the universe.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, there's a suffering. And so you have to be able to have a strong mindset to power through that. Stay disciplined and stay consistent. That's the biggest thing, is you have to stay consistent. And then from there, you'll start to see those results. You're not going to hit the gym and have a six-pack overnight. I wish it was like that. You can probably go get surgery in a South America country and have a six-pack.
Yep.
But it's still not healthy for you and it's not good. You have to stay consistent. And not only that, you are setting the bar for your children.
oh man,
For your sons to become fathers and husbands one day. You're setting the bar. And then also your daughter. Your daughter's like, if my boyfriend is not like my father, he's not worth my time.
she understands. I mean, it's I fast forward. Like I do this thing in my life or my mind, and I look at my life in the future, and I just
Love that.
I start to what do you call
You're
it?
manifesting.
Yeah,
That's
but
a
it's
big
also
thing.
like I kind of play out scenarios, and I just always envision my daughter having her first date, and like she's
Good luck
just
to
coming
that. Good luck to that man, especially during prom season.
But I'm
with four sons still.
my younger sister, she was the only girl, and she had 3 older brothers, and it was the same thing for her.
Good
growing
luck.
up. But I just look at it, I'm like, I feel so confident knowing that she will understand
The values you're
the
instilling,
values,
100%.
what's right, what's wrong,
Yeah.
right, and it's
She's
like
going to attract that. In that significant other, when that time is right, she's going to attract that. She's not going to attract, hopefully, knock on wood, that bad boy that has no discipline and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, and I can't say things are going to go
Correct.
perfect. But what we try to do each and every day is just to instill those
love
values,
that.
right? And so all we can do is be the leader that we want others to,
definitely.
replicate from us.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so, and a simple example is, again, back to the boys. I always incorporated. We used to run an after-school program for kids for about 5-6 years. Wyatt, when he was in, I think, 2nd grade,
Mm-hmm.
he's 17 now. It was called Excel to Fitness. Local shout out for Stephen Vaughn, who you should actually check him out and have him on the podcast.
Yeah,
Great
let's
guy.
do it.
Yeah. But it was always something associated with kids at that age getting into shape.
Oh my God, I love that, man.
And at that age, and actually the cool thing about that program was that it was for inner city
Mm-hmm.
and kids that maybe had a single parent household and didn't have anywhere to go after school. And rather than just sitting them in an auditorium,
Or getting in trouble,
we got them outside. And we would
doing
we would go
sports,
to-
doing
oh,
something,
gosh,
something fitness related. That's super huge. When I left middle school, home ec went out the door.
Yeah,
I know. I know how to sew, and when I tell people that, they're like, "You know how to sew?" Yeah, because home
me
ec
too.
taught me. I sewed in home ec. I know how to sew. And they don't teach that anymore. They don't teach you how to write checks. They don't teach you how to live your basic life.
The basics.
And then I remember when I had gym class, we had certain type of seasons in gym class. We had to do a certain amount of pull-ups, a certain amount of sit-ups, certain amount of running a mile with laps.
We used to have to climb the rope.
I remember that.
I just brought the rope up, and they're like, "That's a liability. They won't let the kids do that."
I know,
anymore."
right?
I'm like, "What?"
Come on now.
Put a mat on
but
the
that's
floor.
what we did. We had a little, mat, and boom, how high can we climb? How fast?
Yeah.
Archery, all that. They don't do that anymore, And I watched a video. It was China. And the elementary school kids,
Oh my gosh,
they were
man.
going crazy. I mean, they were like bouncing up and around. And they said that was between their classes they had to switch, is that they're doing some sort of exercise.
Yeah, movement.
Where then you got our kids at our elementary schools getting taught God know what in these schools and twerking and stuff. Like, how is that good for society moving forward when you have children in China well educated before they're even 6 years old? And then, Russia's doing the same thing. They are instilling great values, traditional values, and well educated information at a very young age.
We then again back to that program, which kudos to them for I was just the father that had time that could actually
Help out,
volunteer and
yeah.
help out.
I love
Ended
that.
up running the chapter, but it was one of the things that I really enjoyed was that we were giving kids that wouldn't have otherwise gotten the opportunity to get the confidence and those values. Like I can remember this one kid, he was so shy and timid, probably bullied, honestly. And he would actually come out and we're doing activities, and he would always have a book with him.
Okay.
This is because that was his way, right? Like he loved to read.
That was his comfort. Yeah.
But now you got to imagine, like we're all doing activities on the field, and this kid's he got his face down in the book, and he didn't want to do anything from the beginning. But week over week,
Slowly start progressing.
you would start to see the confidence build.
Love that.
And then the neat thing about this was at the end, it was almost like a Spartan race, lack of a better term.
I love that.
And you get all the kids together. And man, we do war paint with the kids.
Oh,
and I still remember this kid because he, like, the look on his face, and he probably never had anybody tell him that he was actually good at
something.
And for him, the confidence that it built, like, that was, what meant the world to me, man. And so it's like,
it's funny how things work like that. How he instilled something in you.
Into me. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and that, that got me onto where I realized, like, all of this is great. Everything we're talking about.
Correct.
But what is really
what are you doing
great,
it for?
Exactly.
You're
giving it back. And so
100%. No, I love that, and you're spot on. And that's one thing we do as a company is we donate to Charlotte Angels, which is which is a nonprofit for children, foster children, and foster families. Because I think it's super important that, and the numbers just ridiculous high of how many children really go into the bad scenario of things or get wrapped up into trouble or incarcerated because they don't have a masculine father figure in their lives. And
critical.
It's so high to have someone like you that has traditional values, high values, great character, a loving husband, loving father, and your children see that you're instilling it in them, even when you don't even know. When they're sitting on the couch and they're watching, I don't do much screen time at my house, and I'm sure you don't either. But if they're playing, they're side-eyeing you and your wife in the kitchen.
What we're doing, yeah.
Oh yeah, they know. If you guys, if parents,
the little things.
Oh, they look at it because I've done something with my son, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, like you did this," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah. When did you see that? What?
Yeah, like how do you even know what that is?
Yeah, I mean it's 100%.
You lead by example.
You lead by example.
Yeah, and there needs to be more fathers out there like you doing it, more people out there taking those footsteps for their children.
Well, I'm confident that there are.
There are.
More,
100%.
right?
Especially today with everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
I think a lot more
people
fathers are like, okay,
sure.
we're all going to come together.
Yeah, which, part of my passion project of what I've been building with F4 United over the last 12 months really stemmed from this, which was men needed a place to kind of come together.
Yeah.
And then also I think about it just from generations of like, how do we instill and build strong men today? But then it's the next generation.
Correct.
Because I saw this, and the neat thing about having two age gaps of or kids, right?
Yeah.
The older set, I almost got to live it twice.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was a trial run. That's probably the bad
term.
But we basically got to see what actually worked and didn't work with the two kids.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at and saw, okay, if we did this or didn't do this, you see how it plays out right by the time they get to 20.
Yeah.
And so it's so important that at a young age that you actually start to instill
it.
talk about.
And you stay consistent with it.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing when it comes to food, when it comes to activities, when it comes to, a house in the regiment, cleaning your bed, brushing your teeth, stay consistent with it. Absolutely. I mean, my son's 4 years old. We'll lay in bed and goes, "Dad, we didn't brush our teeth." And I'm like, "You're right. Let's go brush them." Like it's instilled in his head. He knows nighttime, morning, brush teeth. He knows that, and building that when it comes to eating healthy, when it comes to activities and working out, having traditional values, working hard with work and showing them that work ethic is super important.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, some people disagree with the quote, but I love it, which is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. It's true.
It's, some people take that so literal, but it's like, look, you're here, short amount of time, nothing's promised, and if you're going to show up for something, like you're gonna do it right. And
most definitely. You talked about that relationship quote, and one thing I want to touch on that is that one of my coaches told me, Chris, to operate at a very high level, a lot of people will pour. You have a pitcher of water, and that's your energy. That's everything about you, and you're pouring that pitcher into other people's cups. And he's like, that's not how you do it. What you do is you need to make sure your pitcher overflows with water, and then put it over the cup and let the overflow
Flow.
of the water fill up their cup.
right.
Because if you're emptying your cup, you're not going to have anything.
You got nothing left.
No.
Nothing left,
No.
man. And then,
So you have to overflow your own cup to fill it up.
which is, that inner game is something that I think most people, struggle with.
It's mental too.
Yeah.
I meditate in the mornings and in the evenings. Meditation's huge for me. My son will even meditate. This morning, he was upset with me because I took a shower before he woke up and he wanted to meditate. with me.
Yeah.
Because he knows we go in the shower, we sit down in the shower, and we have the steam coming in, and sometimes I'll spray like lavender or eucalyptus in there, and we'll just meditate. And he knows it. And so this morning he was upset with me because he was like, "You didn't wait for me because I wanted to meditate with you." So he knows
cool,
tonight
man.
before bedtime, him and I are going to meditate.
That's awesome.
And we just sit there and we think, and we just stay calm. Now he doesn't know, understand breathing techniques and things like that.
I don't understand it
but
either.
he's learning it, and it's staying consistent with that.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Oh, 100%.
You're doing a great job.
Most definitely.
How's it been for you?
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. Definitely fun. We're in the car wash sector now, so we're heavily focused on car washes. Really pivoted from multifamily, given the current market environment with multifamily.
Smart move.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We think so. It's going to definitely be very difficult times in the multifamily sector for years to come. I think next 2 to 3 years, this could be very difficult. We've been asked plenty of times to partner in JV on deals, but when I look at these deals, numbers don't make sense.
Don't make sense for you.
No. And so we love the car wash sector. We can offer higher cash flow, higher tax benefits to our investors. So we are all in with it. Our team's excited about it. Our investors are excited about it. So running that and then, really doing that personal branding approach for this later second half, because you have two fronts of marketing. You have your outgoing, your ad spend, all that. Then you have your personal branding approach. And those bring two different type of clients to each business. And so that's why we're doing heavily the podcast and just getting people more aware of, your stories and how people are growing, the struggles we go through.
Yeah, man.
That, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. The struggles that we go through is very difficult, and let's touch on that, going through those low days.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like for me, it's meditation. I meditate. What do you do to really power yourself through those low days? Because you got a house full. You got a lot of kids.
There's a lot going on all the
you have a
time.
phenomenal wife, but there are those days, and I know Thursdays, those days where you guys can, breathe a little bit. But what's really that Nick time, that self time? What do you do?
Well, honestly, I mean that's my gym time.
I was gonna
most of the
say,
time.
gym in the morning.
That's my I get basically 2.5, 3 hours every morning to myself.
I love that.
And so that's a combination of I do my meditation, I do my faith and my reading of my Bible every morning.
I love that.
I do my workout. I do my breathing work. So that's it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I ultimately have to use that time to basically power me through the day. Now there's times where I'll have to, sort of decompress in between the day as well and do some other activities. But for the most part, that's it. What I found, and this goes back to me pouring into others, as you were just kind of talking about, which is, when I go and actually meet with other guys in our men's group in our community, that's actually what fills me up.
I love that.
And I realized, most people start to build things or do things because it's almost like it's helping the teacher as well along the way. There's that old saying. I was looking for and needing community. And as you get to a place where you're high performing, you're successful, it's very difficult to quite honestly be on the same page as other people and to also find similar people that are like running at that same speed. And so my time where I actually get filled back up is also with my group and my guys that I actually, we just talk about this, right? Just like the struggles, the day to day. And so, you got to have that in place.
No, yeah, I think that's super important. And it is fulfilling when you see, your kids take your footsteps. When you go out in the community and you talk and you network or, you really give value to other individuals and you see their lives fulfilled, that makes you fulfilled. Can money buy happiness? In my opinion, yes. Money can buy experiences, which causes happiness.
Sure.
So money can buy happiness.
Absolutely.
Can money buy fulfillment? Experiences can cause fulfillment to a certain extent, but I think what money can do, to answer your question, yes, because the more money you have, the more people you can impact in a positive manner.
Yeah.
And I think that right there causes fulfillment. And what I mean by that is that donating to, Charlotte Angels, that nonprofit to help kids out. That right there costs money to do that. And that fulfills me because I can help give back to those kids, which makes lasting impacts, and giving back to, other high valued men and things like that with knowledge, with power, is fulfillment. And that feeling is just so amazing. So amazing.
Great feeling, man.
Oh, it's
good
remarkable.
for you for doing that, man.
I appreciate it.
Honestly, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's, you hear everybody say and I actually was just listening to a podcast yesterday with Justin Waller.
Yeah, I know.
He was on the Bradley podcast.
Bradley.
And they were talking about it. It was like, to the 0 to $1 million is actually, I forgot
The
how he said
hardest.
it. The hardest.
It is hard.
But he said it's like the most life-changing.
Oh, yeah. It's the journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because he's like, once you get past a certain level, he's like, what are you going to do? You're going to fly a private jet, or you going to be
the number's 20 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have 20 million reoccurring, you can do everything really except owning your jet or owning a yacht.
Yeah.
You can charter it.
Yeah.
Who
He's like,
cares?
okay, right. He's like, at that point,
just charter it.
So he's like, it doesn't get any increment. Like you just have maybe more of, but it doesn't mean like it's going to be any more fulfilling. But what fulfills is the ability to start to pour back.
100%. Most definitely. And you have to enjoy the journey. You have to understand that journey and that growth and that path.
Yeah.
Which I think is super important when it comes to it.
That's tough, man. People, trying to stay grounded, trying to stay present, trying to be good fathers, husbands, business owners. I mean, there's a lot to juggle.
I know.
But I if I could like bring it all back without your health, without taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, it's really difficult to do any of those.
Most definitely. You can't do anything.
High performing level.
No, you can't do anything.
So.
No, I agree. I love that. Nick, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, wealth of knowledge.
Incredible.
I know. I'm excited to have you back on here in the near future
Please
to
do,
hear
man.
where you've came from. Excited for your journey of starting a fund, getting that going and things like that. It's fun. And you have my number. Don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much for joining us. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
most
Best
definitely.
of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chris Salerno Show. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight to help you along your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to cover, feel free to reach out directly to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay inspired.